Have you ever been reading about some brand new cutting-edge theory about the mind and just had this weird feeling of déjà vu? The sense that you've heard this all before, just maybe dressed up in different clothes? Well, today we're diving deep into that feeling. We're asking if our modern intellectual breakthroughs are truly new, or if we're just rediscovering ancient truths and giving them a shiny 21st century makeover.
All right, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and get to the heart of it with this one question. Are we really pushing the frontiers of knowledge, or are we just becoming incredibly skilled translators? Are we taking age-old wisdom about the human mind and just slapping on the jargon of neuroscience, systems theory, and psychology to make it sound new? It's a question that honestly makes you rethink what progress even means.
So to really get to the bottom of this, we have to start at the foundation, with an idea that's been echoing through human history for thousands of years. And it's this: the most profound insights don't come from a book or a lecture. They come from direct, personal experience.
Now, when we use the word spirituality, must be super clear. We're not talking about institutions. We're not talking about dogma. We're talking about the raw, personal, direct investigation of your own consciousness. It's about looking at the unfiltered data of your own inner world without anyone else telling you what you're supposed to see.
The brilliant psychologist William James had the perfect way to frame this. He saw all the rules and rituals of organized religion as just a secondary layer. He used this great analogy. It's like a menu trying to describe an amazing meal. But, reading the menu is not the same as actually tasting the food. The real deal, the meal, is that primary, personal experience, the thing that's often so profound you can't even find the words to describe it.
This idea got a huge boost from thinkers like Aldous Huxley, who called it the perennial philosophy. The theory itself is actually pretty simple, but whoa, is it profound. The idea is that if you peel away all the unique cultural stories, the myths, the specific doctrines of every spiritual tradition on the planet, you find the exact same core experience hiding underneath. It's this direct recognition of a deeper unity, a pattern that connects everything.
And what's wild is, once you start looking for this pattern, you see it everywhere. Modern psychology talks about altered states of consciousness. Systems theory talks about relational networks. Neuroscience points to cognitive integration states. Look at the slide. It's all just different jargon pointing at the same moon. A direct, personal insight into how reality works.
So, if this direct insight is basically a human universal, what happens when it gets fed into the modern intellectual machine? Well, this is where we get to the wave of thinkers who started describing these exact same experiences, but in the language of science. You could almost call it a modern rebranding campaign.
Let's do a quick little tour. First up, Gregory Bateson. He came along and said, hey, mind isn't just this thing locked up inside your skull. For him, mind is a property of any complex system. So that ancient mystical feeling of oneness, Bateson would say, yeah, that's just you directly perceiving the pattern which connects everything in an ecosystem or a family.
Then you have Ken Wilber. This guy was ambitious. He basically tried to create a theory of everything that would tie psychology, evolution, and spirituality all together. He pictured spiritual growth as this journey of expanding consciousness through what he called holarchies. Think of them as nested layers of complexity, from your tiny ego all the way out to the entire cosmos. It's like a grand, systematic, modern map of enlightenment.
And finally, let's bring in the neuroscientist, Thomas Metzinger. He takes it a step further. He argues that the self, that feeling of being you in your head, it's not real. It's a sophisticated simulation your brain is running, an ego tunnel. So when a Zen master talks about the experience of no self, Metzinger is basically saying, yep, I can show you that. That's just the brain's self-modeling program hitting the pause button for a second. It's a direct translation of ancient wisdom into the language of brain science.
This slide, right here, just lays it all out. Look at these parallels. The ancient idea of gnosis, or inner knowing, becomes direct experiential insight. The Tao becomes a self-organizing system. The Buddhist concept of anatta, or non-self, becomes the ego tunnel. The language is new and scientific, for sure, but has the core insight actually changed? It really makes you wonder.
And this leads us right into the heart of the conflict, the central debate we're wrestling with today. It's really two powerful competing stories about what knowledge is and how we get it.
So, which is it? On one side, you have position A. We are absolutely making genuine discoveries. The scientific method is giving us brand new insights that were impossible before. But then you have position B, which says, mostly we're just reinterpreting what we've always known.
We're just using the dominant vocabulary of our time to talk about the same old truths.
And you might be thinking, come on, this is a no-brainer. It's one thing for a monk to describe an experience of oneness, but it's another thing entirely to see brain regions lighting up on an fMRI scan during that experience. Isn't that fundamentally new information? That feels like hard proof, something new added to the pile of human knowledge. And that's a really fair challenge.
To answer that, we have to look at the incentives. What does our culture reward? In the past, wisdom was often seen as part of a long conversation, a shared tradition. But today, we live in an attention economy. Thinkers become brands. Ideas that have been floating around for centuries suddenly get attached to a single personality who packages them really well. Fame and authority go to the best performer of an idea, not necessarily its originator. And this leads to a kind of performative philosophy, where the style and the story become just as important as the insight itself.
So, how do we get past this back and forth of new versus old? Maybe we need a more sophisticated way of looking at it, a new lens that can honor both sides of the argument.
And here's a really helpful way to do that. Let's split knowledge into two categories. First, you have instrumental knowledge. This is how-to knowledge, how to build a car, how to cure a disease, how to build an fMRI machine. It's about manipulating the external world. Then you have emancipatory knowledge. This is about your inner world. It's about understanding your own mind to free yourself from suffering.
And this distinction is absolutely crucial. When it comes to instrumental knowledge, modern science is the undisputed champion. There's no debate. No ancient mystic could cure polio. But when we're talking about that inner, emancipatory knowledge, understanding the ego, the nature of consciousness, finding freedom from our own mental traps, well, that's where the argument gets really strong that we may just be walking in ancient footprints.
You know, if you zoom way out on human history, you can see this fascinating cycle. We started with these holistic traditions that saw everything as interconnected. Then, big institutions came along and needed to break things down into stable, separate categories. This led to the fragmentation of knowledge into all the specialized fields we have today. But now, it seems like we're in a phase of reconnection where science itself is starting to put the pieces back together and rediscover that holistic view.
This quote just nails it. We celebrate these modern thinkers as pioneers, as discoverers of new continents of thought. But maybe their real genius wasn't in the discovery, but in the translation. Maybe they are just brilliant map makers, creating a compelling, modern map for a territory that humans have been exploring for centuries. And in our age of personal branding, the map maker can easily become more famous than the territory itself.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? It's a powerful tool for your own thinking. The next time you come across some revolutionary, new idea about the mind or consciousness, just take a second, pause, and ask yourself, is this a truly new discovery? Or is it a brilliant translation of a timeless human insight? And who, exactly, benefits from framing it as brand new? What perennial pattern is being rediscovered here, just in a different disguise?